with the advent of artificial intelligence, a lot of the back office jobs may not be around for a few years. And so that's why it's particularly important that the finance minister, Jill Roth, was able to bring more asset managers, hedge funds, front office in business here, because those will not be replaced.
It's my pleasure to welcome in the studio Stacey Feinberg, who is the US ambassador to Luxembourg. Welcome.
Thank you, Jerome. So happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you. We've all seen that you arrived in Luxembourg a few months ago. You met a large part of the community. What people may not know is that your father was a lawyer and a very innovative sports agent. I think he had among his clients Larry Bird and Joe Montana, some big celebrities. And you did, previously to becoming an ambassador, a career in venture capital.
I did, as well as I had a hedge fund, so I've had many, like Luxembourg, I've had many iterations.
Yes, and it's great
I haven't had farming and coal, but I've had business, and now I'm an ambassador.
That's really good, and it's good that you're familiar with finance, because this is still what Luxembourg is all about. So my first question for you is, can you share the depth of the relationship between Luxembourg and the US?
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. The United States and Luxembourg have so much in common, it's astounding. And in fact, I just got back from DC, and I had some extraordinary meetings, very high-level meetings. And I let everybody know, from the Pentagon to you name it, to the White House, I let them know that Luxembourg is a very good friend of the United States. And we need to be a very good friend to them as well, because we have so much in common. We have a shared democracy. We have a stable economic climate. In fact, Luxembourg just got a AAA rating again. We have shared values. When you're both democracies who are pro-business, with conservative values, who want to work together, you must work together, and that's why I'm here. I'm actually here to be the bridge between the two continents.
Yeah, and if we look into the history, of course, we think about World War II with the Battle of the Bulge, but we can also look at, in Hams, there is this huge cemetery. I think you've been...
Oh, it's magnificent.
It is big.
I cried. I went there with Helen Patton, the general's granddaughter,
exactly,
who I've become very friendly with. I wasn't prepared for that. I really wasn't. I cried. It was very emotional. You can hear about it, and you can talk about it, but you need to experience it. And then when you do, and you know what I've learned, especially in the month of December, which is essentially Patton month here, I have learned that Luxembourg never forgets. And Luxembourg is so grateful to the Americans for liberating them, not once but twice, but particularly in 1944. And like I said back in DC, we've done a lot for many countries 1 or 2 years ago without a thank you.
Yeah,
we did something 81 years ago, and they take every opportunity to say thank you. And that is special.
Yeah, I invite everybody to Google it, and you look at Ham, it's next to the airport, it's a huge cemetery. General Patton is buried there with his men. It is indeed very spectacular. And of course, just after that, we got NATO. NATO was just in the 40s, and Luxembourg was immediately integrated in it. Then we got a tradition, industrial tradition. I know prime ministers at the time were traveling to New York on a regular basis. And then we got, of course, Goodyear, we got DuPont, we got a lot of industrial players arrived between the end of the 50s until the 80s. And then, of course, 1985, SES was created with the support of the US. So there's a long tradition. I'm not even mentioning finance.
We share SES because you have SES here, created in 1985. Belsdorf Castle was given very generously by the royal family to SES. But last summer, SES purchased Intelsat, the largest US satellite company in Tysons Corner, Virginia. And that is a wholly owned space and defense company, a United States space and defense company. So they're on both sides of the Atlantic. They actually employ just as many people in the United States as they do here. And there's some big things ahead for both our countries with SES.
We talk a lot about defense. We notice when we read the newspapers that Europe countries still buy a lot of planes and weapons from the US, so there is also here a very strong connection. There's huge challenges in terms of tech, and we know we need a cloud for our planes. It's very, very technical, and surely here there's a lot of things going on. I have two big industries in mind for the future. Of course, it's finance. We have JP Morgan, State Street, and a long list of US players, BNY, I mean, I could go on forever. And of course, the space industry, which is a more recent one with huge potential where I guess both countries could collaborate a lot. How do you see basically Luxembourg going forward?
This is probably one of the most consequential times to be in Luxembourg in history. It's very exciting. Banking has been wonderful. It made Luxembourg wealthy. It gave its citizens a fabulous quality of life. It's doing great. However, with the advent of artificial intelligence, a lot of the back office jobs may not be around for a few years. And so that's why it's particularly important that the finance minister, Gilles Roth, was able to have the carried interest passed by Parliament and be able to bring more asset managers, hedge funds, front office in business here, because those will not be replaced like the back office by AI. So that's very important. And every time, I'll be quite honest, every time Macron or Starmer does something they shouldn't, Luxembourg's the lucky beneficiary, because we are getting new companies every week who want to relocate here, because this is such a pro-business, stable, wonderful quality of life place to have as your European headquarters.
Yeah, and I think here there's a big challenge for Luxembourg, which is multilateralism. And you mentioned France, which is not going well at all. Well, Luxembourg and France have a lot of connections. We can talk about Germany, also with very strong connection. Of course, the US, but Luxembourg also has 7 Chinese banks here, for example. How do you see Luxembourg dealing with this multilateralism?
Well, the way I look at it is that we have so much in common that I want the United States to take every opportunity to work together with Luxembourg, and I want Luxembourg to do the same. I think that we are going to do things together in so many different industries, but particularly space and technology, cybersecurity, critical infrastructure, data centers. These are all things that are very important to the United States. They're also going to be very important to Luxembourg's future, and the future is now. My focus right now is in space because, in fact, while I was in DC, I went to the Pentagon. I met with the head of the Space Force. I also met with the Secretary of the Air Force and the Secretary of the Navy, because there are a lot of, which you might say, Navy, what does that have to do with space? It does. I just can't talk about it right now. But I have lots of things that I'm going to be working on that is going to be spectacular for both of our countries working together and maximize the innovative entrepreneurial spirit that both of our countries share.
Okay, very good. Do you see some risks and some opportunities? I mean, here we can take some altitude.
I'm sorry, Jerome. I don't see risks. I only see opportunities.
This is good.
I do. I'm an optimist.
Well, when I read the news, maybe I have a different perspective. I see a world which is very uncertain. I see crazy news every single day from every direction. And so you don't see the risk. Which opportunity do you see?
Where do I start? First of all, satellites, telecom, fintech, crypto. You can stop me at any time. I mean, there are so many places. You know that Blue Origin just relocated here from France only 2 weeks ago.
I did not know, but
well, now you know.
I'm happy to know that.
You know, the world's largest family office relocated from the UK. 214 billion under management. Clarion. Advent, private equity firm, has relocated from the UK. So there are so many companies that are coming here, but the space campus that's being built, you've got to take a look at it if you haven't been there already. This will become the space hub of Europe.
That's very, very
and
good.
And they will lead the way with the United States. Luxembourg, I believe, here on this side of the Atlantic, the United States on that side of the Atlantic. Also, if you go down to Belleville, where the tech campus, the things that are going on there, I won't name the companies in particular, but there are some amazing companies with a spirit that almost feels like Silicon Valley back in the 90s.
That's
that
true.
kind of entrepreneurial spirit.
And I think it is true. There are some really, really cool companies in Luxembourg.
TadaWeb. Sorry.
Yeah, TadaWeb is one of them with
Couldn't help
Jenna
myself.
Elvin, which is a brilliant entrepreneur. There's a lot of really, really good entrepreneurs. Maybe they're not the most visible because they work so hard, but they are already here. Maybe one question about the risk. You know, some people will tell me, oh yeah, but you know the playbook. The playbook would be we grow a company. Let's say TadaWeb is a good example. We grow it. Then of course it needs to scale. When it scales, let's say Series C, we start seeing some BlackRock stepping in, and then before we know, the companies in America. What would you say to
Well,
people?
what would be wrong with sending some companies to America? That's part of my job. I want to help. Luxembourg is extraordinary at funding all these great new innovative companies, and they can get them from 0 to 1,
True.
as Peter Thiel would say.
Yes.
I would like to help get them from 1 to 5. I would like to help them be able to scale, and in order to really do that on a global level, bringing them to the United States where there's capital, innovation, leadership. Again, I want to be the bridge to help these companies. And TidaWeb did just raise their Series C, but they're still here. But eventually I would like to help them grow in the United States.
Exactly. That's we've seen it also with other companies like Talk Walker, who were acquired by a, I think, Canadian company. But this is, I think, what Europe is a bit. I see it as a risk. Basically, would be to only focus on the early stage and then lose the best players.
I agree with you, but I applaud Luxembourg for financing a lot of these great ideas and these wonderful, ambitious new startups, because you never know which one is going to change the world.
That is true. It's a game of numbers. Perfect. Ambassador Feinberg, thank you very much, and I wish you a lot of connection and bridges between the US and Luxembourg.
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you.